What was the experience for you during these recent LA fires?
I had a really spiritual, almost biblical experience with what had actually happened. Two part of the story. One, 48 hours before the fires happened, I had my art studio and I had a giant canvas that I had not painted on it for almost a year. So it's been sort of just sitting there propped against the wall. And 48 hours before the fire or any kind of sign of anything that was going on, I was hit with a really intense wave of hot energy that was like, you need to paint on this canvas and you need to paint on it now and you need to paint a Mother Mary. And it was so clear. It was almost like, I want to be really light with using the word possessed because it has so much dogma and charge around it, but I was being moved by something greater than myself is the best way I can describe it. And I got that canvas down and I started coloring the background almost like a ombre, like burnt orange, like it looked like the smoky sky. And it was like dark in the corners and then it got light towards the center. And within 48 hours, I mean, I was waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning just to get this piece down. And it didn't make sense to me in the moment why I felt like there was almost like a time pressure for me to get this painting complete. And the morning of the fires at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I finished the final part of the painting, and it was these white lilies at the bottom of the painting. And within a few hours later, we saw the smoke in the sky and we got the evacuation order. However, we get so many evacuation orders, or not necessarily evacuation orders, but a lot of warnings around fires. There are a lot of fires that happen specifically around this time of the season. So it can create a little bit of a downplay and a little bit of a casual nature in response to these experiences because they're so frequent. And so it was kind of like, oh, there's another one. Let's go for lunch. We'll probably be back by tonight. And so casually packed my passport and one other pair of clothes. And then we went for lunch. And then turned out, obviously everything that unfolded. But what was left in my home was this giant painting of a Mother Mary that was surrounded by a smoky sky, and she's just in prayer position. And for some reason, also while I was painting the painting, I was instructed to take all my jewelry off and just put on my Mother Mary necklace, which is the only thing that I'm wearing, and I still have been wearing 5.5 weeks later after the fire. The flames, after burning, a catastrophic amount of land in Los Angeles, like twice the size of Manhattan. It got almost to our backyard, the flames did, and then the firefighters put the fire out and our house was saved. And for about a week straight, we didn't know within an hour, within 30 minutes, whether everything that I have ever created, all my artwork, all my journals, like from all the ceremonies, from all of the travels, like family heirlooms, like my grandmother's jewelry, if within, 30 minutes, it could be completely gone. And that fires were right close to our backyard, and through the grace of God, through the grace of the
grace of Goddess Mother Mary,
the Divine Mother, genuinely protecting our home, and obviously the Los Angeles Fire Department and all of the first responders and the ones that are really there and in the 3D. Our home still stands, and yet, it's 5.5 weeks later and I'm still not home because we've been in the testing of the water and the air quality and not wanting to risk our health. But, there's the actual apocalyptic fire ripping through Los Angeles, but then there's the disaster after the disaster, which is the air and water quality. So I genuinely, during that time, I felt my faith has never been stronger, as well as the grief and the gratitude and the faith all kind of was sharing the same bed at this point. It was really interesting to be able to hold the paradox of both in the same breath. But my understanding of what the Mother Mary and the Divine Mother in general was really inviting me and initiating me into has completely shifted me on a cellular level to get to the point of being in complete acceptance that if everything that I have materially created, I just bought a house for my first home with my partner 5 months ago. And so looking at maybe the house that we had just bought may be gone, and being at peace with that and surrendering my will for thy will and recognizing that God has a way of laughing at my plans. And then being able to actually have a home to still go back to, which is a lot of my friends and community don't have that opportunity right now. So being in the inquiry of what does it mean to be of selfless service? Like when I was painting the Mother Mary, she was saying, what does it look like for you to create something and serve that doesn't have your face on it, that you're not getting 10% profit, that is not like, okay, well, a little bit for you, a little bit for me, but like, yes, you can have your income and yes, you can serve in those ways. And what pockets are you just selflessly serving? And how can I initiate you through this passage to come back into what it really means beyond the identity and into, please use me as a vessel to be of greatest service to the whole, allow myself to become a hollow bone and to not make it about me or my identity. Please show me, I'll do whatever it takes. And being in service to that frequency was what she was initiating me into when I was painting her. And the fact that I genuinely felt like her and the Los Angeles Fire Department kept our house safe through a miracle. And I am still in the integration of what does that look like when I return home.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all that. And it sounds like you were able to embody both the grief and the faith and the fear and maybe even, you know, I know you like the play and the prayer for those who maybe have lost, especially like the material loss. How do we navigate and really sit in the unknown of it and still have faith? You know, I love that. I love that you said it was through service. Like that's where you arrived. Like I'm gonna be of service to get through this time. For those who are navigating loss, what sort of message would you have for them?
First and foremost, a disclaimer that I obviously haven't lost my home. So I'm going to be speaking from a place of just being a human and recognizing that every single human has navigated immense loss in their life and immense pain and immense challenge and immense grief. And in the same breath, my home still stands. So I'm going to speak from behalf of the empathy of being human as opposed to that I even know what it's like to actually lose your home, you know? I definitely got close with the empathy of surrendering to that timeline or surrendering to that being an option. However, what I have noticed is if I get out of what I predict my life is supposed to look like, and to say, okay, I surrender my will for thy will, and recognizing that every single thing outside of what I have cultivated inside of my being is subjected to be taken away or is subjected to go away. And one of my greatest teachers and dearest friends was a Holocaust survivor. She was a 98-year-old Holocaust survivor named Nika. And she shared with me that during the Holocaust, she lost her family, she lost her name, she lost the clothes on her back, she lost her home, but she survived from miracle to miracle. And she actually wrote a book called From Miracle to Miracle. And she said the things that she learned, the people that she loved, the languages she learned, the tools that she put into her psyche could never be taken away from her. And that was the one thing that she could pack herself with that actually helped her survive through the Holocaust. And she shared with me that this is the most important, valuable, nutrient-dense thing a human can do in this life. And to recognize, okay, thank you for this sweater. The sweater is not mine, but the sweater right now I get to use. Thank you for this home. Yes, I may on paper own it, but this can be subjectively changed like that. And here's the nature of being human. Thank you for this partner. I don't know if I have a month with this partner. I don't know if I have 10 years with this partner. I don't know if I'll take my last breath with this partner. I don't know. And actually, that's the nature of being human, is to actually be humble enough or to be humbled enough to say, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Look at what happened to Los Angeles. Like, so many people lost everything that they have materially created overnight. And yet those, I believe, that will thrive through times of great uncertainty, which is all of us. Welcome to 2025, being human on planet Earth. If you know anything about astrology, you'll see that we're going through a massive shakeup, and anything rotten at the foundation within our psyche, within our relationships, within the system at large, and recognizing that's all connected. Anything rotten by a rotten tooth has to be extracted for us to be able to truly heal, because it is rottening the whole system, and it's rottening the ecosystem of this planet and the way that we interact with each other. So we're in a time right now where we call it the Great Purge. And that can look like maybe I'll be stripped away of my material possessions, but maybe, just maybe, and I'm not saying that this is applicable to everybody, maybe my home was creating a sense of comfort and stagnancy where I wasn't allowing life to happen because I had a predictable nature of what is happening from A to B. And I was creating a safety net of security so that I felt safe in the world. But actually where I need to be right now is out in the world. Where I need to be right now is meeting new people, offering my service, learning from new teachers, being humbled to my knees and stripped away of my comfort so that my life force energy can return and I can be present in the world of what is actually being asked of me. Maybe. But if we can look at it from a place of I surrender from my will to thy will and trust that there is some kind of divine intelligence that is unfolding here, I believe that the most compassionate people, and Brene Brown did a study on this, the most compassionate people are the ones that have two main traits. One, they have the strongest boundaries. And two, they're the ones that have the most unwavering faith in something greater. But if I was to look at it from a bigger perspective, 100% of the time it has worked out in my favor. And in the times when I thought, this is my person, I'm going to marry this guy, I love him with my whole heart and soul, I look at it 10 years later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did not get what I wanted, because that would have been a death sentence. But at the time, my will is that I think that this is what's right for me. So if we can recognize, A, nothing is actually ours. Like, the only thing that is ours is what we pack ourselves from the inside out. Is learning to love all aspects of our own psyche, is learning to hold compassion for all aspects of the human experience so that I can genuinely hold space for another person with the languages, the studies, the places, the experiences, and the way that I've learned to open my heart and let love in and let love out. That is mine. Everything outside of it is on borrowed time. And so I'm grateful for when I have it, and when it goes, I say thank you for the time that I did have it. I mourn the loss of it. I mourn the space. I feel it in its entirety, and I move forward in faith. And I think that is truly when we can become resilient in very unpredictable times.